Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So glad to be here with you today. I am ready to continue our book club discussions with you. I want to take this opportunity to ask that the spirits of light who are here with me today and they are responsible for this work to continue to inspire us throughout the journey. Today, we will go over chapter 17 of Wake Up and Be Happy. If this is the first time you join us, this is the eighth book from the psychological series by spiritual author Joanna de Angelis. Our organization, the Solitude Center for Spiritual Living, has selected this book to kick off our book club this year. The series of discussions is done, as you know, on a weekly basis. And as a reminder to all of us that the psychological series aims at provoking reflections about ourselves, about our problems, our conflicts, our challenges, and our shadow. So all of it, the complexities and nuances that makes us us. I mentioned this previously, but I want to reiterate today that as I go through this book, I find that chapter after chapter, I am indeed met with powerful and impactful short messages. And with Joanna, I want to invite all of you and me to continue to this journey to read the book. And can you please let me know if you agree with the explanations, the interpretations, the narrative provided on this book club series of discussions? Shall we start? Let's go to the next slide. And the chapter, as I mentioned before, is 17. And I ask you, what is this chapter about? Well, it is about the idea and the nuanced approach to what does it take for the angel that is within us to take flight. I love it. Let's go over the chapter in the next few minutes. And just from an academic perspective, I subdivided into three subtopics: the dormant angel, the rehabilitation techniques, and our inner transformation. So let's spend a few minutes in the next slide with the dormant angel. And one of the words in that one pager, right? It says to review the dormant angel. It is not exempted from polishing tools, the heat of suffering, and the harsh nature of trials. So as we look into this, we're really discussing pain. We're discussing endurance. We're discussing the fact that for us to be where we want to be, that angel taking flight, it takes work. It takes being the subject of that external and internal circumstances. So I want to just take a minute to ask you to go into this, if you will, flight of fancy with me. And I ask, if we stop to reflect about current state today, let's stop everything. Let's stop the noise, and let's maybe think about, how do I feel? How am I doing? Right? And we often come with a set of answers to our own reflection that is in two different levels: either a level of pain and suffering, discomfort, something that is not quite pleasant, right? There's this, the realm of I don't know. I'm going through this, and there's this crisis, there's this thing called a pandemic that it doesn't go away. There are conflicts in the world, there are conflicts in my own world, in my home, with my kids, with my spouse, with my friends. And I just, is talking about, I'm referring to the almost the snowball effect of uh, adding all the complexities in the level of it's not so clear, it's not so easy for us to do it. On the other hand, we think about all the joys, the happiness, right? All of the things that are good. The sun is shining and we're in a good place and everybody's smiling. So yin and yang, right? If you will. The maybe they're not so comfortable in the aspects that are super attractive and welcome. But the majority of them, if we're brave enough, we're courageous enough, if we go a step further, distill it further, we find that they're mostly linked to our material existence. Am I right? Hmm. It is interesting since we know that on one hand, our material existence and all its trappings, all its acquisitions. I'm talking about acquisition, professional acquisition, all of the things that are, not just a thing, the material thing, but all of those acquisitions are there. They're part of material existence. But on the other hand, right, from one which is ephemeral, they will go away. They're subject to its own demise, to its falling, to this dissipation, right? There's that ephemeral quality to it. On the other hand, and this is the magic of this chapter. On the other hand, we are responsible. We know that we're responsible for transforming these acquisitions, exactly those that have a its own a transient and ephemeral, vulnerable, potentially to able to disappear, and we need to transform them into a permanent acquisition, right? We are responsible for moving them into a state that will lead us to eternal, and I'm talking about long term, never dying, eternal joy and happiness. Hmm. Is this even possible? Well, I asked that to myself, right? If so, how can we do that? And the short answer, and it's surprising to all of us, the short answer is yes, it's possible. And yes, how we can do that, it's all about here, your thoughts in your aspirations during this lifetime, doing this material experience. Wow. Simple and yet so hard to grasp. So let's spend a few minutes talking about it. And I wanted to reference an interview with Katie Miera several years ago in New York, the Brazilian medium Divaldo Franco, who is, by the way, responsible for the psychography of the work by Joanna de Angelis. And he mentioned that in this interview, that this book that we're studying, right, Wake Up and Be Happy, and the entire series of Joanna had the goal to bring us a new perspective. And for me and anyone out there who has studied and has embraced spiritism, Divaldo brings us this call to action through the work of Joanna de Angelis. So Joanna de Angelis, the spiritual author of the series, she invites us all to move away, to go beyond a framework of theories, and she invited us to move now into a different arena, and that arena is of behavioral solutions to what that goes inside of us, that part that talks about the pain of our material existence, and at the same time the desire to attain happiness, to attain joy, the on one hand the very ephemeral set of material existence into that permanent arena arena of permanent happiness, right? So those are two things. I want to go beyond that interview because it's quite interesting to me, is the fact that what Divaldo meant when he was explaining this book is that the objective of the series of books is to take its transformational message to our day to day, to the context that we live in, to use the content to lead us into social, moral, economical changes. So it's truly transformation. I finally want to stop talking about it, but it's a quite good interview. But in that interview, he tells us most, if not all of us, brings with us the predisposition for our own growth and spiritual progress. This is what Joanna tells us, right? Inside of us, we are predisposed to grow and to attain our spiritual progress. That's the dormant angel, right? Waking up the dormant angel. But the bad news, and I smile at it because it's always point counterpoint with Joanna de Angelis, and in this case through Divaldo's interview, right? The bad news is that while we bring all the predisposition to grow, to progress, to evolve, the bad news is that we also bring the factors that are directly linked to our own difficulties. If we do not know what we are, right? What, how we are immersed in those difficulties. If we don't go through this, have the courage to go through this voyage of self-awareness, self-discovery, we will repeat the same types of experience. We will not be able to get away from this vicious circle. So I reflect upon the words by Divaldo, and I just started to jokingly, right, think about, oh, how so many of us complain one way or another, right? We complain about things that are exactly great punctual examples of this vicious circles, right? So some examples that come to my mind are how all our partners bad, or we failed our relationships because they are, and I'm just making this up, right? They're distant, they're cold, they're uninterested, all our friends are fickle, our jobs are unsatisfying, and it goes on and on. Because when we talk about the vicious circle, is that yes, this is something, but when we move away from that situation to the next one, we repeat the same set of feelings and actions, etc., etc. So it, it's important for us to recognize that, and it's also important and very hard for all of us to stop and see that if the content we're immersed in that vicious circle of repetitive contacts, right? If they are there and they are the source, the root cause of our pain, they're also there to teach us something. If they are there and they're always there, right? If we cannot break away from that vicious circle, it means that we have not learned our lesson. Oh my goodness. Let's go on to the next slide. And wanted to just let us know that Joanna reminds us that in our moments of pain, whatever that may be, it is through the pain that we learn and we correct our imperfections. So it's a mechanism that it's there, and at some point the pain is so great that you can no longer not pay attention, right? But it is those moments of pain that we're able to look at ourselves and say, oh, let's course correct and go to the place where we need to be. Remember, this chapter is all about waking up the dormant angel. One of the things in this process that we cannot forget, it's about God's immense, unadulterable, uh, e- eternal mercy and love, infinite love. That is the certainty that we have with us. With that, we are never abandoned. With that, we also know that we're not punished either. What we are going through is simply part of what I may call this educational tool or toolkit, right? It's part of this mechanism to bring us, to elicit from us a reflection regarding ourselves, regarding this physical existence and this life as a whole. Just rewinding, right? We are given the tools to be able to transform those ephemeral material acquisitions into a permanent acquisition of learnings that will lead us to our own evolution and progress. So it is what I call, this is my words now, what I call this closed loop system, that it is there for us to wake us and for us to look at it so that we can get out of there. So it's very interesting. So what we have to keep in mind is that we're often, all of us, caught up in a whirlwind of misunderstandings, right? So easy to feel alone, to feel abandoned, right? Rejected, to feel attacked. I try, I'm doing this, and yet I feel the attack, the criticism that comes from outside. And I may have to stop to get some water. So sorry. So let me keep going. But if I can, I may have to stop to get a drink of water with my throat. But so let's go back. We have to keep in mind that that whirlwind of misunderstanding has to do with our feelings, right? And those are completely legitimate feelings of abandonment and rejection, which is to me the most terrible ones. But the feeling that we are attacked is also very difficult, right? So what are some of the examples that we have that pops up in all of us? So give me just a second while I'm trying to get some water. So anyways, so some other examples include just examples for us. Um, are we being a victim of slander? Are we being a victim of maybe what we feel is an insult or character defamation, right? Especially if those who are closest to us are the ones who are the the um, the ones who are responsible to do that. How does that feel? How can we, uh, knowing that it feels so hard, right? How can we demonstrate our own fortitude during those moments? I don't know if you went through this, but the moment of attack, the moment of impact, can we stay silent? Can we actually not even defend ourselves? Is this even a probability? Different example, perhaps. When we lose someone we love, especially, a loss is inevitable. This body, it loses its vitality day after day. It's the only certainty. The physical death is the only certainty we have. And we say, yes, how do we die? Oh, it's either old age, right? Or it is by accident or a disease. But what if that loss is through not just a disease, but a painful, what it feels unfair disease? What if that accident is a tragic, something so traumatic that seeps through us? How do we deal with such loss? How to stay strong, even though we're grieving? How to grieve without falling into this eternal, seemingly eternal lamentation? What about when we are, let's say, abandoned, especially feeling ostracized, right, by those that were perhaps your closest friends, those that we trusted the most? How to be alone and not lonely? How to demonstrate that we can be indeed in a state of solitude and focus, use that time to focus on our inner world, right? It's not a disgrace, but take the time and be strong and go through that inner, the necessary inner voyage that we need to embark. What about finally when we feel perhaps stressed, depressed, especially if we are influenced by not so enlightened, right? And I'm talking about incarnate, disincarnate entities, right? When we are so stressed that we are experience such level of pressure, and we have to understand it and not give in to the negativity and pessimistic outlook in life, right? How to maintain our sense of balance, our sense of equilibrium, our sense of peace. So Joanna brings all of this because she discussed those rehabilitation techniques as uh, having the inner strength, the fortitude that comes from its own journey of self awareness, of inner transformation, and courage to confront what we consider light or dark that are part of day to day lives. The strength to understand with every aspect, every painful moment, seemingly painful moment, that we have that fortitude to address it and not lose ourselves into it. So let's go to our last slide in our final moments together because I wanted to just to talk about this notion of inner transformation, right? Joanna closes the chapter with a few paragraphs reminding us that if we base our entire concept and idea of success on material gains, right? We started with that, with the need for applause, the need for fame, the need for fitting in. We will eventually, no matter how good it is, we will eventually have to deal with the emptiness that all those attributes give to us. Okay? All of you who are out there, all of us will have to deal with the emptiness because those are ephemeral. And as its concept tells us that, as ephemeral as they are, they will have a life cycle. They will be diluted eventually. I don't know when, but eventually. And the other component of the same idea for Joanna de Angelis in this chapter is the idea that because these are not uh, assets that are valuable for us as immortal souls, right? As mortal spirits, as undying beings, because they are that. They're what we could call the in between what's real. And I like to think about it. If you think in terms of an image, any image, right? It's the negative space instead of the positive space. So we flip our world to look at what is in between as the target of lives. And it's like, no, this is the circumstances. Wake up, right? Wake up to be happy because what you are focusing on is really the cracks between two, the void between two realities, right? The negative between the positive of an image. So we should indeed take this moment together, this Sunday morning here for me, that it's an opportunity for us to reflect upon the notion that we live in a culture, in a society that is highly hedonistic and material. And yes, because of that, we are constantly seeking a source of pleasure. And because of it, we forget that no, we're here in a school of sorts, and the school has one goal, and the goal is to provide us with opportunities for us to learn, not necessarily to come here to have breaks and have fun. That's a byproduct. It comes with it, but that's not the goal. So Joanna, and I have in the slide here because I really find it interesting. I admire stories of the Apostle Paul, right? If you read the book Paul and Stephen, you actually fall in love with the narrative. It's just an amazing book by Emmanuel. But Joanna brings up Paul the Apostle with what he told in Hebrews 12:7. Endure hardship as discipline. Okay, we could stop here. All of us, let's endure what we call hardship as the discipline required to be strong and to be able to have the necessary strength to awaken the dormant angel, right? So endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children. For what children are not disciplined by their fathers? So what she's saying in my mind's eye is it's what a father does. Relax, don't get so upset. It is what it is. But we understand, just to finalize, that suffering is indeed everywhere, and suffering touch just about every one of us, every heart. We are collectively living this life, this so-called experience, right? And the ultimate goal is redemption. So if we think about it, if it is redemption, it is not about pain, it's not about punishment, it's about back again to the idea, the concept of, it's about being the tools in this divine toolkit to get us, all of us, his children, using Paul's words, his children, to really focus not on the negative space, but on the positive space of that image, right? To focus on growing, on learning, on building strength through inner awareness, through self discovery, through transformation. And to do that, the call to action to all of us, the call to the invitation, if you will, is for us to be courageous, to be able to confront us, to amend any mistakes, and that's the redemption component, right? To amend any mistakes we may have made. What feels like the purpose of our lives. And we're talking about, oh, I want joy, I want an easy life, right? I want comfort, I want beauty, I want power, I want health, I want it all. And Joanna finishes the chapter saying, those are given to us as concessions, not as a birthright, as concessions. And as such, we are responsible for them. So instead of feeling entitled to them, we should feel great for them. And what we should understand from all of this is that our the divine love that comes to us, God's love, right, that is eternal, that is infinite, that is all good, is not expressed as we would like it to be. It is not about giving us pleasure. It is not about giving us, as I said, the power, a comfortable life, all the facilities. Um, it is it is all about how do we wake up the attributes that live inside of us to be the angel that we already are in a dormant space. So for me, the greatest lesson here is, let's be aware about the fact that we may be wasting the opportunity to grow if we don't look at each and every situation that happens to us with the right lens. So, with that, I close our day today with invitation for you and for me to focus on attaining that necessary inner strength as a direct result of our courage to reflect and confront all that is in existence inside of us. That's it, folks, for today. Next week, we meet again, chapter 18. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.